What's up? This is your host, Non-Fungible TC, Non-Fungible today and Non-Fungible tomorrow. And for those of you, if this is your first time, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. This is a channel where I come to you every day talking about the traditional market, the crypto market, and also the NFT market. And in today's show, I want to share with you a report by CoinGecko. For those of you who do not know, CoinGecko is a website where you can look at the different type of cryptocurrencies, do your research about exchanges, and also look at different type of NFT trading data, right? So this report is actually published by CoinGecko on July 13th. So this is actually just yesterday. And I didn't cover this yesterday because yesterday the consumer price index was the headlines, right? Everyone was talking about the 9.1 increase year over year in the consumer price index. And actually today there is another index that we have to talk about, which is the US producer price index, right? Which climbed more than the forecast in June, which I'm gonna go through when I go to the traditional market. So what are the 7 things you have to take away from this report? So basically this report is a quarterly report. It is about Q1. It is about January to June 2022 and what happened in the crypto space and also NFT space. So the first thing you have to know, this is a report. The description is, the link is in the description below. Definitely download it if you're interested. But the first takeaway is they talked about stablecoins, right? It was a terrible, quarter for stablecoins where you have a Luna crashing to 0, and at the same time, other algorithmic stablecoins saw losses of 48 to 32% as well, right? So they also talked about how Tether lost a lot of market cap because there was some FUD about it, there was some depegging, and money actually went to USDC and also probably BUSD, which is the Binance stablecoin. Okay, they talked about Terra Luna's fallout and also how the BEF ETH contagion. So basically, for those of you who do not know, the reason why Celsius decided to file for bankruptcy today is actually it was started by the event of the depegging with stake Ether and Ether, right? So basically, Celsius stake a bunch of Ether into the Lido protocol, and then they were actually getting some yield, and they were distributing the yield back to the people who deposit the ETH to Celsius. But the problem with this peg is that, because first of all, Ethereum, 2.0 was delayed for some time. And at the same time, the market was looking bad. So people wanted to immediately, trade at a loss. So what they did is they swapped their stake Ether for a loss, right? So there is a price difference, and Celsius the problem with Celsius is that they own a lot of these stake Ether, and then they have to pay out of pocket because of this price difference, which came to a lot of cascading effects, causing Celsius to become bankrupt. So what happened is that, according to the article, they talked about how stake Ether could also have a contagion effect, right? So they talk about what I just said just now, right, on Lido. They were talking about 3 Hours Capital. 3 Hours Capital, the founders, disappeared right now. The court yesterday say that, some of the people in the US could subpoena them, which, take over the asset, right? So they talk about the domino effect of, Terra Luna, crashing, a lot of intricacies between different type of tokens, stable coins, and also different investment firms, and how 3 Hours Capital bankrupt because of these different type of relationships, right? Because 3 Hours Capital did invest in Terra, and how there's a lot of cascading effect that's gonna happen. So definitely check this out. It gives you an overview of basically what happened. They talk about how DeFi kind of, the dominance went down, but at the same time, other protocol, took up the space of, Terra Luna space. But because DeFi was actually quite high because a lot of people were staking USDT for the yield, right? But now Terra Luna has crashed, so that's why a lot of money has left Terra Luna. But then other different type of chains DeFi did indeed take over the money and also the users, right? So they also talk about, this is what I said, right? Old and new contenders arise to take a spot, like Avalanche, Polygon, Solana, right? They have maintained the TVL. Tron TVL, reduced, but at the same time, their shares, tripled from 2% to 6% due to the launch of the algo stablecoin USDD, right? Which is kind of scary as well, which is because it's an algo stablecoin. So they talk about how OpenSea's dominance slipped in shrinking market as competitors like Magic Eden, X2Y2, looks rare gain in market share. they did talk about how OpenSea started offering Solana NFTs, which actually benefited Magic Eden in terms of the adoption of Solana NFTs. They also talked about different Solana NFTs that OK Bears that was actually in the top ranked in OpenSea as well. So they talked about trading volume was averaging below 100 billion. Okay. And then they talk. So this is basically the 7 things you have to know. But this is definitely a very helpful report. It does. There is 40+ page. Really good analysis about the prices and stuff like that, and also what happened with the Terra Luna crash, and how affected VAC, and also other CFI, which is centralized finance, that I talked about yesterday. They talked about DeFi, and also in NFTs, they also talked about how money is flowing from profile pictures or free mint into really art-driven NFTs. So that's it for this report. The link is in the description below. You want to download and check it out for yourself. So moving on to traditional market. So today, what happened was that everyone was talking about she's a 9.1, but she's inflation, right? So it was trending on Twitter. But at the same time, I do want to bring a point out, and that is in July, we do have a lot of hurdle to happen, right? So just now, for example, JP Morgan just announced a loss in the quarterly earnings, right? So this is what we should look out for, right? So I was saying that, hey, the CPI is going to affect the price, and it did, right? It did affect the market. Yesterday, we had a huge dump in the 15 minutes, and I was doing the live, let's see. So we had a huge dump yesterday, right? Let's see, 15 minutes, okay? So yesterday when I was doing the live, exactly, we have a huge dump, right? But at the same time, we have a huge pump. So that's why I was saying that these indexes does have, does affect the market, right? Especially the CPI, which is like a 40 years high in the US, right? So basically a CPI means that if it's 9.1, so it means that in general, it is more expensive to live, okay, in the US. So today, the producer price index came out, okay? Tomorrow, there's gonna be a consumer sentiment and retail sales data that's gonna come out. So the retail sales data is gonna come from the University of Michigan. And then at the same time, next week, we have Netflix earning reports. Then we have Tesla. So Netflix, we all know that isn't doing so well. And then you have Tesla, right? And then you have Google and Microsoft. And then you have Meta. And then by the end of the month, you have the Fed announcing whether they're gonna increase 100 basis point for the the rates, interest rate, right? So and then you have US Q2 GDP that would be released in July 28th, and then also Apple's earnings report. So definitely a lot of these key dates that we have to keep in track. And when I'm doing these live streams, I will talk about it. And today we'll talk about the producer price index, right? So what happened was that the producer price spiked more than expected, 1.1 in June, and a 11.3 YOY. That means more pressure on businesses to pass on the higher cost to consumers. So inflation is here, and the cost of production is high. But meanwhile, weekly unemployment claims shot up again. So people are being unemployed and they're claiming, government subsidy, right? Hitting 244K, the highest level since November 2021. Recession plus high inflation, right? So it's really interesting to see how the market is really, like, especially Bitcoin, is kind of holding up right now, right? Once this index came out, there was a huge spike, and now we're trading kind of sideways. We're waiting for the market to open. So, two pieces of good news in investors and fee moves to make now in the wake of surging CPI from UBS. So yesterday isn't doom and gloom. The reason why yesterday dumped is that the inflation numbers came in higher than expected, right? But at the same time, I think the reason why it pumped is that to a certain extent, the market did accounted for it because it was always on a downward trend. And at the same time, yesterday, President Biden said, oh, the data was actually out of date data, right? So you shouldn't be so worried, right? So maybe that's the reason why our market is going back up. But it does show cryptocurrency is holding up pretty strong because in this risk-off environment, I'm quite surprised it just ran up, right, parabolically in just one day. So traditional market, after yesterday's CPI, what happened, right? China's central bank is closely watching, accelerated monetary policy tightening abroad. And at the same time, traders are betting that the Fed, which is the FOMC meeting, could raise interest rate by 1% this month. So last month they raised it by 75 basis point, right? So that is a 0.75. But people are saying that there is 100% basis point this month. And if it does, then it will be a high again in the US, and definitely it will shake the market, right? So 5 things to know before the stock market opens Thursday. Another week morning for stock. As we said, you have the production price in the indicators, and also Janet Yellen saying inflation is unacceptably high. And also, this is a 4-decade high, so this isn't really a simple thing. So 100 basis point, a lot of people are saying that could be a possibility. And also Morgan Stanley reports earning. JP Morgan kicked off big bank earning by reporting a 28% decline in profit during the second quarter, right? And also Morgan Stanley reported that its revenue fell in the second quarter as well. So all of this is going down, right? A lot of negative news that could affect the S&P 500, right? That could affect equities market and in turn affect the crypto market, right? So without further ado, let us go to the crypto market. So Bitcoin is at 19,000. We are hovering around this range. Ethereum is back at 1,000. Yesterday, Matic, pretty much surprised me, which I will talk about shortly. And also, what happened was that market cap now is at 885 billion, okay, which is a 3.38% increase. And stable coins, slight increase. So maybe some money slightly entered the market. If you look at the market, a sea of green, compared to yesterday's live stream, because the market pumped up. Matic almost at a 20% increase. And if you look at the crypto market cap, though, we are still around the 800-ish to 900-ish, billion. If you look at the, dominance level, pretty much Bitcoin dominance right now is at like a trading sideways. So nothing really much happening in terms of the dominance. On-chain data, I love to look at Ethereum on-chain data. We look at Ethereum on-chain data, negative exchange reserve. Let us see why is it negative. So for those of you who know on-chain data basically means that if more Ethereum is on-chain, the selling pressure is higher, right? So right now, slightly going up, but still, going sideways soon. Exchange inflow and outflow, net flow total. Let us look at it for 1 month. So basically, in the last week, this is surprising because yesterday Ethereum jumped a bit, but Ethereum is still entering the exchanges. It isn't being withdrawn for an exchange. So this is definitely something that you keep an eye on, right? So UN say the developing nation should ban Bitcoin as regulate crypto wallet. So UN came out with a statement saying that the developing nation should be careful. A document titled "All That Glitters Is Not Gold," first published in June. The United Nations Trade and Development stated that the disadvantage posed to the nations by cryptocurrency, right, outweigh the benefits they bring to individual and financial institutions. They're saying that crypto volatility, a lot of scams and stuff in crypto could affect the stability of developing nations. Enable illicit financial activity, preventing authority from limiting the flow of capital and jeopardizing the monetary sovereignty of nations, right? So they are saying that they try to ask the governments to make use of cryptocurrency less attractive. So there is two thoughts, sometimes we're saying that, hey, crypto is positive. If you look at Cardano with a focus on Africa, how they want to bank the unbanked, but at the same time, you have United Nations saying that, hey, you shouldn't advertise this. There should be more regulation and stuff like that. But it's interesting, they do have a history of using digital asset and NFTs to promote different type of initiative. But this is interesting to see from their approach. They do believe that maybe developing nations should not be exposed to certain risks that crypto does bring, right? So another big news today, Celsius files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Personally, I do think that this could be positive in a sense that yesterday we were talking about DeFi, right? And the reason why Celsius is paying off the loans in DeFi is that because all their money is in a smart contract, it's over collateralized. If they get liquidated, basically they'll lose all the money to the DeFi smart contract, right? So that's why they pay off all of these loans, and now they're probably looking at bankruptcy protection and maybe restructuring, right? Comprehensive restructuring plan. Hopefully people with money in Celsius could get back some of the money, and also I think having this is a positive thing because they will have to be transparent, right? They no longer could be silent, right? If they have to show the paperwork, because when Voyager filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, they did expose that Sam Bankman-Fried, Alameda Research, is actually one of the borrowers, right? So it makes things more transparent. So this is interesting. So another interesting news I found today, this was actually a result that came out yesterday. So this is actually a Bitcoin price prediction. Okay. So yesterday, this result came out. Panel of 53 industry specialists give us the prediction on the price of Bitcoin over the next decade, right? So our panel thinks that Bitcoin will be worth 25,473 by the end of 2022, before rising to 100,000, 106,755 in 2025. Wow, that's like a 4 times increase, right? So holding until 2030 may result in a real payoff. So definitely, this is a long-term game if you're looking at long-term gains, right? But this is an interesting report. Go through it. I added in the link description below. Another interesting news. For those of you in this space, you know that the SEC was in a lawsuit case with Ripple, arguing that Ripple is actually a securities and therefore is under the SEC regulation. Right, but at the same time, Ripple was saying that, hey, we are similar to Ethereum, and why did you say Ethereum is not a security? And there was some documents and stuff like that where Ripple's counsel argued that, hey, SEC, you have to show that document to prove that you said Ethereum is not a security, right? But then SEC say no, there's some sort of client privilege and stuff like that. But the judge actually sided with Ripple, saying that SEC, you do have to produce these material. Okay, so interesting breakthrough in the SEC in the Ripple case. Next news, Polygon among 6 Web3 projects selected for Disney Accelerator. So for those of you who do not know, Disney have a Accelerator program, which is the Walt Disney Company, like Disneyland, right? So they chose these companies, and if you look at this, right, I do think that Disney is really thinking of entering into the Web3 space, especially the metaverse. And we do remember they did file for trademarks a while back. Disney Accelerator is a business development program, go to help innovative companies grow, focus on co-building of the future of VR, AR, Web3. Each team receive guidance from Disney executives, right? So the first one is Flick Play. So it's a Web3 social app where user can create augmented videos using the NFT. Pretty interesting, right? The next one is Brains for a virtual character. So it's basically using AI to power virtual characters for use in the metaverse, which is also very interesting. And also, Obsessed VR, they create virtual stores, which you can use like maybe in 360 and explore a store. So I think this is actually like 360 cameras taking photos and then clicking on it with interactive stuff, right? And also they decided to have Polygon, right, which is rallying with a 20% in the last 24 hours because, Polygon is the only blockchain layer 2 that is in this accelerator program. And also Webbar, which is a patent AR headset used for more realistic air combat training than traditional flight simulator. So you do see that Disney has an agenda with the newest intake of the accelerator program, right? So finally, Lockerverse, Disney described Lockerverse as a Web3 program that empowers creators and brands to tell culture-defining stories and deliver unique assets and experiences. Not a lot of info, right? So it is very interesting, right? It is very interesting to see how Disney is very bullish in this space. So I was talking about Polygon. The whole thing about this is Polygon, and Polygon rallied. And also into my tweet today, I did talk about some trade learnings that I had, right? So I do want to share, the trading learnings with you, right? So if you don't follow me, because once, Polygon announced that they are, having this sort of partnership with Disney, I immediately tweeted it already, right? So if you want, latest news, follow me on Twitter as well. So basically, I want to share with you some trading stuff, but this is not financial advice, right? So I personally use Binance, and the first thing I learned is that order book is very helpful for you to see the different support levels and resistance. So sometimes I do set my buy orders at the high support, which is more people buying there. So this is a way that I use order book, right? So this is BUSD, but if you want to look for more liquidity, look at USDT pairs, okay? And also I talked about, actually in Binance, if you scroll down, you can actually look for money flow, right? And in money flow, it really shows you the last 15 minutes to 1 day, the buys are whether these are small buys, like small portion buys, or big buys. So if there's a more large buys, a large sell, it means the whales are moving. More small buys, small sell, it basically means that retails are moving, right? So yesterday, in the last 24 hours for Matic, right? It rallied. So I want to show this to you, right? 24 hours large inflow, right? My understanding is basically means that if the money in Matic leaving Binance Exchange, right? So in the last 24 hours, the last 3 days, Matic tokens are actually leaving the Binance Exchange. So this is the money flow. And this is a 24 hours money inflow. For my understanding is that in the last 24 hours, how much money is being moved to the market token. So basically stable coins move to the market token. So all of this is very helpful to show you, and it's all on the Binance mobile app if you use Binance. And it's very helpful in showing you, the market sentiment, where the money is going. And so you don't trade blindly. And this is very important, especially in such a shaky environment, right? Personally, yesterday when they did the announcement with Disney, I brought here and I sold here because I have a stop loss in play. I'm not sure whether the token would dump because I brought in the middle of the Bollinger Band. So Bollinger Band is the volatility of the token themselves. So I bought this, I sold here, and then look at the price right now, right? So I think the most important thing all of us have to learn is, first of all, stop loss, especially in such a choppy environment. If you make some profit, even very small profit, for me it's a small profit, it's still a profit, right? And also manage your emotions, right? Because I could feel bad for not selling here, but at least some profit is still profit in this market, right? So 24 hours, I want to share that. If you look at these, you'll see how fast the market moves, especially in such a huge dump, right? So you see which tokens have liquidity, which tokens have narratives, right? So remember these chart, and maybe good luck on your next trade. So no, this is financial advice, definitely. I just want to share some of the learnings that I had, especially in such a difficult trade environment. So to NFT news, NFT news, some brand name got sold. For example, Nike.e. Bill Murray brought more NFTs. He brought a CryptoPunk, I remember. Disney taking Web3 seriously. Yep, I just talked about it. Sandbox announced Tony Hawk's coming to Sandbox. Okay, and also Sandbox did announce a co-investment with Meta Hollywood, and 50 Cent and also another celebrities also in the team. Okay, so I personally have some news as well. GameStop Ethereum NFT sales drop Coinbase NFT in 2 days. So basically, I talked about the launch of the GameStop new Ethereum marketplace. In less than over 48 hours, right, without any gaming NFTs, they were able to see at least 3,167 ETH in trading volume. So there is definitely a market, there is definitely a community. Compared to Coinbase, right? Coinbase only generated 1,704 ETH in trading volume, right? So yeah, it shows that there is fans in GameStop, and maybe that GameStop thing saga community overlaps also with the crypto NFT community, bunch of degens, right? But positive news here, negative news, Tencent shut down the NFT platform as government policy makes it impossible to thrive. So basically, while NFTs are not banned in China like cryptocurrency, government has warned against the fraud risk associated with the nascent center, right? So Tencent actually has 2 different non-fungible token platforms, but because due to declining sales and also aggressive monetary policies of the government, they decided to close one, right? So they shut down one of the digital collectible NFT platform, and another platform is not doing well. So the reason is that Chinese government does not allow users to conduct private transactions after purchasing. So there's only a primary market, okay? So in China, to a certain extent, I do think that those are not NFTs. They run on a state blockchain. Those are more like digital collectibles, right? Next news, really interesting news, and the final news for today. UK's court allowed lawsuit to be delivered via NFT. So basically, it was about a lawsuit, like a civil suit about Fabian against Binance Holding, different exchanges, and also some another wallet that is anonymous, right? So usually in a case, in a lawsuit, right, when you get served, what it means is that you were being served paper to appear in court, or you are being served paper that, hey, someone is suing you. So that's the terminology you're being served. So in the past, the way to serve this could be through email, could be through fax, could be through letter, or could be in person, right? But this is an innovative thing because the court allowed this legal company like this law company to serve because they don't know who's the owner of a anonymous wallet, which I think stole funds or something like that, right? To serve the papers using an NFT. So when I saw this article, I was like, hey, this is very interesting. This is a breakthrough in the legal space. So I was curious how the NFT looks like. So I did a search on OpenSea, and this is actually the legal paper. this is actually the serving paper, right? You know, this is a legal firm. They're acting on behalf of the applicant, saying that, hey, we are getting an injunction against you. So I think the injunction is that this wallet stole a NFT from this guy, and they want to have an injunction for him to not be able to sell the NFT, right? So the seal came from a sent under separate cover, right? So this is really interesting because they're serving this legal paper as an NFT, okay? And also interestingly, this NFT is actually a Ethereum 1155, and it's actually an OpenSea shared contract, okay? So this is not like their own contract, and they didn't do it on a Polygon blockchain. They decided to do it on the Ethereum blockchain. So interestingly, this NFT, yeah, it's interesting because my question was that, oh, is this NFT gonna be hidden, right? So this is actually a ERC 1155 open store contract. So it's great to see the developments into the courts where they kind of say that, hey, NFT could be a way, a medium of communication to serve you in court. And this document was airdropped to the wallet, so that makes the whole thing even more interesting. Check your wallets for the hidden tab. You might be served. You never know. Oh, and I forgot to use this. Yeah, I need to remind myself to use my NFT transitions. But anyways, you do know that this is the NFT news. This is your host, Non-Fungible TC, signing out.